Mic check. Hello, hello.
News 3 WSIL. Here's what's happening right now.
Schoolhouse Rock is back in the news as the debate over the debt ceiling gets heated in our nation's capital.
Plus, a big donation in Carbondale will help keep more people warm and off the streets.
And an economic boost. How community colleges across southern Illinois are playing a vital role during the COVID-19 pandemic.
We've got you covered. From WSIL, this is News 3 at 10.
Good evening, I'm Mark Kiesling.
And I'm Julie Williams. The Illinois Community College Board says the state's community colleges account for $3.5 billion in economic output.
They also provide 43,000 jobs. News 3's Maya Skinner joins us live in studio with more on how a local community college impacts our region. Maya?
Mark and Julie, that study also says in the 2020 fiscal year, Illinois community colleges directly employed 33,000 staff with a total payroll of $1.3 billion. I spoke with John A. Logan College in the city of Carterville about the benefits of the institution in the community.
A new report from the Illinois Community College Board says the state's 48 community colleges boost local economies and are important sources of revenue and employment for the communities and regions they serve. Carterville Mayor Brad Robinson says John A. Logan College is a major key to the success of the city.
The thousands of students that you have come in and out each semester that come into our community, that will buy gas, buy food, that will shop, that will recreate here. And not just the students, but the faculty and the staff of the college as well.
The report also examined statewide trends, including job growth, population, and the COVID-19 pandemic.
Particularly when COVID hit, community colleges were ahead of the curve. We had been pioneers in distance learning and online learning, so we were able to transition easily. But I think we're seeing more and more partnerships with universities. One was recently announced with SIU.
John A. Logan College Director of Public Relations Steve O'Keefe says these new partnerships will help students graduate faster and save money. Mayor Robinson says this will make a positive impact.
Any pathway that can be created to help keep young people here in the long term and use their talents and skills here and make Southern Illinois a better place to live and work, that's going to be best for all of us. So I'm really looking forward to not just that opportunity for Carterville residents, but for all the region.
And I'll have the board's full study on our website, WSILTV.com. Live in the studio, Maya Skinner, News 3.
A warm day outside and lots of warm feelings in Carbondale after a big donation. Church Women United gave a $10,000 check to the warming center. City leaders say the center is in desperate need of donations. Now, today's donation will help fund operations for 2 weeks. Their executive director says they expect to be even busier and soon.
We feel like with the pending things that are coming down the line, the eviction moratoriums ending, the extra unemployment ending, and all of these things that are changing. You know, we have a different post-pandemic world that we're going to be going into soon, and it's not very friendly for the people that we serve.
The warming center says they've been conserving supplies and funds to try and keep their doors open. They serve people all year long with a wide range of services. And also in Carbondale tonight, the Irma C. Hayes Center is rejoicing after winning a $25,000 grant from State Farm. People across the region voted to help them win that money. The center will use it along with city funds for much needed repairs.
It was another warm day, temperatures well up in the 80s, even as we watch the clouds roll in. And the clouds going to stick around through the overnight hours. Will also work to keep temperatures up tonight. Otherwise, it is quiet conditions. A quick check of our live camera looking out over Mount Vernon right now. Nothing going on there. Forecast maps rolling through the overnight hours show the clouds increasing and the chance for showers continuing to pop up. Very hit and miss type activity expected. That'll likely be focused in southeast Missouri. The chance of rain elsewhere tomorrow is going to continue to be very small. Early morning temperatures likely going to be in the low to mid 60s with light breezes. And tomorrow afternoon's projection showing the impact of the clouds and the rain in southeast Missouri will likely be much cooler there. While many of us are going to have another summer-like afternoon, it will come to an end for all of us. A chance for rains going up across the region. I'll show you that in the forecast coming up in just a bit.
There's already concern tonight about holiday travel. Hundreds of United Airlines workers are laid off because they've chosen not to get the vaccine.
And the CDC issues an urgent alert for pregnant women. Get vaccinated, they say. ABC's Morgan Norwood has the latest.
As the U.S. looks to turn the corner ahead of a fall wave of infections, the CDC with a nationwide health alert urging pregnant women and nursing mothers to get vaccinated.
We absolutely have the data that demonstrates the overwhelming benefit of vaccine and really very little safety concerns at all.
New data shows that 22 pregnant women died of COVID just last month, and compared to other patients are twice as likely to need intensive care and 70% more likely to die. Samantha Kelly was 32 weeks pregnant but unvaccinated when she went into a coma with COVID. She's now recovering after doctors safely delivered her baby.
It's a lot of decisions and being thrown at you, and you try and as a mom make the best one, but unfortunately I think I made the wrong one and I should have gotten that vaccine.
The CDC's warning comes as the number of people getting their first shot has fallen to its lowest level since the vaccine was introduced last December, just 172,000 doses per day. And tonight, hundreds of workers across the country out of a job or suspended for not getting a mandatory vaccine shot.
If it comes down to that, where I have to give up my job or get the shot and go against my inner conscience and my inner morals, then it's just a job.
And for parents anxiously awaiting a vaccine for younger children by Halloween, Dr. Fauci telling MSNBC there could be a longer wait.
We were hoping that would be by Halloween, but if it spills over into November, it spills over because that's the necessary amount of time that the FDA needs.
Morgan Norwood, ABC News, Los Angeles.
COVID-19 continues to put a strain on the area's healthcare system. In this evening's COVID conversation, I spoke with Dr. Junaid Haroon, a cardiothoracic surgeon with SIH. He spoke about how COVID-19 impacts heart patients. We also discussed the strain of treating COVID-19 patients and how healthcare is a limited resource.
If you're putting all your resources into COVID patients, you don't have much left for anybody else. And if our COVID patient population went down, we would have more resources available to treat the other patients who also need the health care.
Dr. Haroon points out COVID hospitalizations can be greatly reduced if people would get the vaccine. Our complete conversation is available on our website, WSILTV.com. And tomorrow, we continue our COVID conversation with Dr. Jason West, a primary care physician from SIH in Harrisburg. Julie will talk to Dr. West about how substance abuse disorders are increasing during the pandemic. That's tomorrow night on News 3 at 6:30.
A tough news tonight for Kentucky's education leaders. Fewer than half of students tested at proficient or distinguished levels last spring. Educators say the pandemic is likely to blame. With all of the challenges students faced, school leaders say the results can't be judged by pre-pandemic standards. And an employee has been fired from school in Florida for refusing to wear their mask. That Orange County School District has a mask mandate in place through the end of the month. Well, the decision led to outbursts at school board meetings Tuesday evening. Several people had to be escorted out by police.
A Gift of Love charity is hosting a documentary screening at the Carbondale Public Library garden. It is focused on racial healing through personal testimony from Southern Illinois residents and leaders. Following the documentary, there will be a discussion about racism in the region and how to resolve those issues. Organizers say this is a great opportunity to come together and have honest conversations.
Sometimes when we think about racism, we think about it on a national scale, and it actually does happen in Southern Illinois. So you have your neighbors and your friends as part of this documentary. We have people from as far away as Cairo and Mount Vernon who share their story. And so it just shows us that it does happen in our area, and we need to make change.
That event is set for this Saturday night at 7.
You still have time to get yourself a duck for one of the biggest fundraisers for Special Olympics. The Ducky Derby Dash is this Sunday at Walker's Bluff. Now, Kinsey Lloyd is the ambassador for the event. She's been participating in Special Olympics for several years. She says it's a fun time for everyone.
Just being able to compete in Olympic type sports and proving that no matter what your abilities are, you can do anything whenever you set your mind to it. And I think that I speak for every athlete whenever I say that. And not just Special Olympics athletes, but other athletes as well.
Again, this 7th annual Ducky Derby Dash is Sunday afternoon. If you buy a duck but you can't make it out to the race, that's okay. Your duck can still win.
Coming up, another day of warm, dry conditions across our region.
But Jim says we could see some rain. His full forecast is coming up on News 3 at 10.
The House voted today to suspend the U.S. debt ceiling. Only Democratic representatives Kurt Schrader of Oregon and Jared Golden of Maine voted with Republicans against the bill.
Illinois Representative Adam Kinzinger was the only Republican to vote with Democrats. The bill is headed to the Senate, but it's expected to fail. Tomorrow is the deadline for Congress to reach an agreement on a separate bill to avoid a government shutdown.
I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill.
The drama unfolding in D.C. has some taking a second look at this famous cartoon. You may remember I'm Just a Bill by Schoolhouse Rock, which taught us the basics of how a bill becomes law. SIU political analyst John Shaw says the cartoon offered a smooth portrayal of the legislative process, but he says the actual process is the exact opposite.
In the real world, it's far more complicated, it's far messier. The kind of clarity of textbooks that we, studied when we were young does not really, is not always a guide for how Congress operates.
The cartoon debuted in 1976, and Shaw says it's still a useful tool to introduce students taking civics courses. An SIU student could be disciplined over his decision not to take the COVID vaccine and to forego testing.
He says the university isn't doing enough to accommodate he and his fellow students. News 3's Danny Valle has more.
I come from a family of mechanics, and I've worked as a mechanic since I was 14.
SIU senior Jagger Fenton doesn't live on campus. He drives 90 minutes from Bluford every day to get to class. But by the end of the week, he may not have a class to go to.
There wasn't really any talk as far as what the repercussions would be.
In August, SIU sent emails to students reminding them to get vaccinated or provide weekly COVID-19 test results. Fenton said no to both and says he hasn't felt any symptoms.
I wouldn't say I'm anti-vax. I'm more so just pro-choice and support people's rights. And I believe that all this is a violation of rights to due process and conscience.
Last week, the school told Fenton he was placed on disciplinary probation for failing to provide weekly test results. But Fenton says it's a penalty for passing up the vaccine.
Even though they're not straight up saying that they're forcing the students to get the vaccine, they're pushing it very hard.
Two choices: get vaccinated or be in a testing protocol.
Dean of Students Jennifer Jones Hall says they're following Illinois' mandate. Hall says about 2/3 of students who are seated in classrooms are fully vaccinated. About 1 of every 10 students, she says, are under a testing protocol. Hall can't comment on individual students, but said,
we as a university are following through for the safety of our students and our staff in the community with the governor's mandate directly. We've had great success so far.
Fenton has until Friday to provide test results or face interim suspension, meaning he can't go to class. 2 professors offered to help with remote learning options, but Fenton hopes the school can do more to help students who do what they feel is right.
I'm on campus to do my classes, and then I go home. I'm not here to, walk around, and I make sure to comply with the CDC guidelines and all that, and then do my thing and go home.
That was Danny Valle reporting for us. Hall says there are only 2 students who have filed similar complaints. She couldn't tell us whether Fenton is one of them. Meanwhile, Fenton hopes to graduate this spring with his engineering degree. We're getting a new look tonight at a huge dust cloud in Brazil. Take a look at this. This is time-lapse video from earlier this week. Experts there say a lack of rain coupled with 60-mile-an-hour winds caused the dust cloud. It's even blackened out skies down there.
Much more quiet conditions here at home, although we are getting ready to watch the transition from the summer-like conditions many of us have been enjoying the last few days to more typical fall-type weather. And in between, there's going to be a pretty good chance we're going to see some rain, maybe some heavy rain. Quiet conditions, though, as we look in a live camera view, looking out over Poplar Bluff right now. The flag just barely flipping around. A little bit of a light southeast breeze is all we expect overnight. Best chance of rain tomorrow is really going to be focused in southeast Missouri. If you live closer to the Wabash, or really if you live east of I-57 in southern Illinois, most of western Kentucky, I would expect another dry day. There's a small chance of showers spreading, but in southeast Missouri, a good chance of showers. Threat tracker bar to the low mark. Push that up a little bit on Friday because the area where I think we could see some showers pop up gets a little bit bigger. It's not necessarily a bigger chance for rain, but also a chance we could see some thunder and lightning on a Friday night. And even if only in one or two locations, that could be a bit of an issue. So many of us out at high school football games. And then during the weekend, the bigger chance for rain and storms. And some could produce locally heavy rain. It may be time to be thinking about, well, what if it really rains or storms during my outdoor event this weekend? Because I think the chance is that big, especially on Saturday. Tomorrow, the chance of showers really focused in southeast Missouri, and for the first half to 2/3 of the day, that's really where I think we have only the chance of rain in the afternoon. We might see an isolated shower or two pop up in southern Illinois or western Kentucky. Temperatures not dropping off very much tonight, at least compared to what we've been seeing. Temperatures showing in the upper 60s to around 70 locally, and the push of warm air is going all the way up through the plains and into Minnesota. We can see color coding suggesting temperatures still in the 70s just west of there, and you can see here's the boundary or the cold front coming in. And get into the mountains and temperatures already in the 30s and 40s. That cooler air will make some progress this way, but likely be next week before we see the real cool down. Humidity is up as well. Dew points running in the mid 60s after we've seen much drier air. You started to feel it today, right? And once the dew points back in the 60s, we start to sense it and we start to see a few more clouds around, certainly showing up. There come some of the showers. That's chances that will be in here by tomorrow morning, moving through Mississippi and northern parts of Arkansas. There's the chances of rain rolling into southeast Missouri, certainly by midday. The bigger chance of rain will be tied to a little weak cold front hanging off to our west. We'll just continue to watch the little chances, and even tomorrow night, you can see the better chance showing up in parts of southeast Missouri and western Kentucky. Overall tomorrow, when I have to talk to the entire region, it's a relatively small chance of rain that you're going to see it. If you're in southeast Missouri, it's a much bigger chance. You're going to see at least a passing shower tomorrow. Friday, it's a 40% chance of rain, so less than 50% chance, but that's area-wide as the humidity continues to increase. And as one boundary moves in, a good chance we're going to see rain around the region off and on throughout the weekend. Windy conditions and getting a little bit cooler. The stronger cold front is expected to move through out around next Tuesday, and behind that, even cooler temperatures will roll back in. Not an Arctic blast or anything like that, but considerably cooler than what we've had the past 2 or 3 days.
Starting to feel like fall.
It will.
And we'll be back.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
The city of Carbondale is trying to help close the gap between employers looking for workers and those looking for jobs. More than 80 people came to today's job fair hosted by the city, with employers saying turnout was the best they've seen in months. Event organizers say now is the time to get connected in order to fill those open positions.
I think it's a start. We have so many employers that are hungry for workers. They are in need of workers, and this is the time where you can employees should take advantage, come to City Hall and look for the jobs, because they are definitely hiring.
The turnout left employers hopeful. Meanwhile, national numbers show unemployment was below 6% for the first time since February of 2020.
7 high schoolers in Maryland are in custody. 2 students were stabbed at school. It happened today during a fight at Annapolis High School. The 2 victims were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The armed student was taken into custody by school resource officers. In total, 7 students were arrested. Investigators say they are all minors.
COVID-19 booster shots are now available in our region, but some people may still be confused about who's eligible.
And Mandy Gaither goes over some of the main questions health leaders are getting right now.
Rolling up their sleeves for a 3rd time.
Boosters will be free for everyone, regardless of immigration or health insurance status. No ID or insurance required.
The U.S. COVID-19 booster campaign is now underway. Who's eligible? The White House says up to 20 million Americans are 6 months out from their last dose of the Pfizer vaccine, and they can get it if they fall into one of 3 high-risk groups: those who are 65 or older, adults at high risk for severe COVID-19 like people with underlying health conditions, and adults at risk of frequent exposure such as frontline workers. Where and when can you get the 3rd shot? It's available now at roughly 80,000 places across the U.S., including 40,000 local pharmacies.
COVID-19 vaccine booster doses so far are well tolerated.
Are there booster side effects? The CDC says reactions are similar to those from the second vaccine dose, most mild or moderate, and include muscle aches, fatigue, and headache. So when could others become eligible for a booster?
We will continue to evaluate data as it becomes available in real time and with urgency, and update our recommendations.
Do you need a doctor's note to get a booster? No. People are being asked to self-attest on whether they're eligible. And while officials say boosters are important to further protect Americans, their focus remains on the unvaccinated.
One thing we can't lose sight of is that it is still a top priority to get people first doses.
I'm Mandy Gaither.
NBA players could lose out on paychecks for not getting vaccinated.
We have reaction and more coming up next in sports.
The St. Louis Cardinals came into tonight's game on fire. The Cardinals clinched an NL wildcard spot last night, winning their 17th straight game. St. Louis took on the Brewers at Busch Stadium tonight. The Brewers halting the Redbirds' win streak with a 4-0 win. Elsewhere in baseball, the Cubs fell to the Pirates in Pittsburgh 3-2, or the Cubs beat the Pirates in Pittsburgh 3-2. And the White Sox are taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Gavin Sheets has 3 RBIs for the White Sox, who win it by a score of 6-1.
SIU's football team is gearing up for a road game against conference rival Western Illinois. SIU has won 2 straight including a come-from-behind win over Illinois State last weekend. And the Leathernecks, they'll be coming off their first win of the season. Kickoff is scheduled for 3 in Macomb this Saturday. The Chicago Bears took a major step toward moving out of their longtime home at Soldier Field. They've signed a $197 million purchase agreement for Arlington Park. It's about 30 miles northwest of the city. Right now, the site is a racetrack owned by Churchill Downs. Their team president says much work remains to be completed before the deal can be finalized. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot's office says they're open to discussions to keep the team from leaving.
The NBA is taking the vaccine mandate seriously. This season, the league will withhold pay for unvaccinated players who miss games due to local mandates. A warning to the Knicks, Nets, and Warriors said vaccine protocols set by their home cities would prohibit their unvaccinated, non-exempt players from playing in home games. The city's policies don't impact visiting players. About 90% of all NBA players are reportedly vaccinated. Boxing icon Manny Pacquiao has retired from the sport. In a social media video, he thanked the world, especially his fellow Filipinos, for supporting him. Pacquiao is the only 8-division champion in boxing history, and he became the oldest welterweight champion of all time, winning a match at the age of 41. He is currently a senator and running for president in the Philippines.
All right, we'll get a final check of weather here, Jim. We're seeing some rain out there.
A lot more rain showing up. Of course, it just is slowly moving this way, but tomorrow most of us will stay dry. I do think we're going to see rain in southeast Missouri. It shows up in the color coding here. St. Louis could see a shower, better chance of thunderstorms over to around Kansas City, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Dallas. If you're traveling any of those spots in the afternoon, likely going to be some thunderstorms, possibly some strong storms. Even Little Rock seeing enough rain to keep temperatures in the afternoon in the mid-70s. St. Louis will likely be in the mid-80s, similar temperatures around here. Now, where it does rain in southeast Missouri, it will be much cooler tomorrow. Chicago looking like a beautiful day. Partly cloudy, afternoon temperatures in the 80s. You want some fall? No, check that. How about you want some winter? Buffalo tomorrow afternoon, cloudy skies and their high temperature maybe 55.
Not ready for that yet.
No, me either. All right, thank you, Jim.
That'll do it for us tonight at 10. Jimmy Kimmel Live is coming up next.
Thank you for joining us.